Okay. So here we are now. Hopefully the Barry White thing will clear up, and you know, just ignore it. I'm here. All right. And so here we are. 21 days. 21 days. How many of you made it? How many of you made it? How many of you made it? How many of you made it without mistake? That's okay. That's okay. That's all right. You made it. You made it. You made it. You made it. Yeah. Because none of us are perfect, right? We know that. And we started that at the beginning with the understanding that we were not going to be religious about this thing, right? The purpose for it was to reach, get closer to Him, cause the flesh to submit. As a matter of fact, me standing here right now before you is a way of fasting because my flesh wants to be at home in the bed. But no, flesh can't run this thing, right? Flesh is the vehicle. And I tell this big hunk of flesh what to do. So that's what we're doing today, all right? So now, that's it. The biggest thing we want to do, biggest question is, after 21 days, what now? What now, right? Because I've heard from day one, it was beautiful. I heard some wonderful testimonies. I heard, people saying, wow, God used me in this situation, and I'd never been used before, and I had the opportunity to talk to somebody, and I heard testimonies of people saying that, wow, my spiritual sensitivities have seemed to be enhanced. I'm worldly things that I would not pay attention to previously now. People cussing and mother this and now it's my ears are more sensitive to that, and there's a reason for that, because now you are paying more attention and in purposefully being attentive to the things of God, whereas before we might have just sort of ignored them. Even some TV shows you might have paid more attention to what was being said and what was being displayed. Some songs, I heard a new song. It wasn't a new song, but he was new to me. The Baby. Anybody know The Baby? Ooh-wee. Hurt my little sensitive ear. Those of you who don't know, don't. Yeah, trust me on that one. But the thing is, after 21 days, if there's been a change, if you maybe there's some habits that started. Maybe you started to dig a little deeper into the Word. Maybe you started to pray more intently. Maybe you heard some things from God in a way that you didn't before. The question is, after 21 days, now what? Do I go back, right? For 21 days, I knew for 21 days I did not do X. I did not consume X. I did not watch X. I did not go to X. I did not say X. I did whatever it was, or maybe I did something more than I was not doing previously, and I've done this for 21 days, but do I stop now that I've made the 21-day mark? Some of us are going to 40. Any 40s? It's just... All right, praise God. We're going to 40, all right. When them 21 days, like, y'all crazy. It's just digging a little deeper, no better, no worse than anybody else, right? It's just looking for some more things for God. But the question is, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Do I go right back to what I used to do? Do I, God has shown me some things. Do I want to just, okay, I know I can do it. I know God speaks to me differently. I know I feel differently. I feel closer to Him. Do I want to fall back to where I was? And so what I want you to understand is the purpose for fasting is it gives you access to God in a different way. It gives you more spiritual access to Him. It allows God to open Himself up to you because you're denying yourself of some things that you used to partake of, and now you've replaced that with Him. You're giving Him more of you. So when you give Him more of you, guess what? He gives you more of Himself. The question is, okay, I've had enough of God. That's enough. 21 days that was plenty. I don't need, Lord, I don't need no more of that. And I would think, I don't know anybody who would not want more of God. So do I continue opening the door? Do I walk deeper? Do I go further into him, opening myself up to the miraculous, to more supernatural things? Or do I return back to the level of superficiality? Am I satisfied with where I was, or would I like more of what I'm capable of getting? That's the real question. Say this with me: God first, God's fast. This is part 3. This is part 3. See, here's what I want to share with you today is that getting closer to him, getting involved more with him, reading more of his words gives you access to things that go beyond the natural, that go beyond the everyday. Sometimes when you have access to God and when you have such a relationship with God, God will allow things to happen to you and through you that he wouldn't normally allow to happen. There are laws set in place that God has put here for us. There are things God set the universe in place. The earth revolves around the sun, right? We rotate, so there's a 24-hour day, right? It would be a trip if right about 10:30 you're ready to go to bed and the sun pop back up. Right? It would be a trip to summer, your crops are growing, right? And you're ready to start harvesting the crops, and then here comes a snowstorm, right in the middle of it. Right in the middle of you packed up for your ski trip, or you're going to the mountains or whatever, then the sun busts out this summer, 90 degrees, all the snow go away. That would be a problem. No, he put things in place so that you could govern your life, not for him. That's for you. He put laws in place. You don't even have to believe. I can't tell you how many people are coming into our office now that are telling us how, I don't believe in the God thing. I know there's a higher power. The higher power. So I have a problem with higher power. Just something out there. Just something somewhere. I like the personal aspect, that one that I can go to that sometimes will do things specifically for Cedric D. White Sr. Not Cedric D. White II, not Cedric D. White III, but me. See, sometimes you're going to go to God and you're going to, it's me, oh Lord. Yeah, I don't need the generalities. I need God doing something specifically for me. So God will sometimes, the laws that he has in place, he will supersede his own laws. You don't have to agree with gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity. You don't. But I double dog, triple dip dare you to climb up to the top of this building, jump off, and expect to just walk in the air to the street. Now, you might make it to the street. That's going to be a painful trip, baby. I guarantee you. But there's sometimes that God will supersede his own law. Remember when Jesus came walking across the water and his disciples saw him from the boat. The disciples saw him, and Peter beckoned to Jesus to let him come to him. And Jesus said, come on, man, the water's fine. And Peter walked out on the water, superseding the law of gravity. He walked out on the water and he walked to Jesus. He walked to Jesus in such a way, but what happened? He took his focus off the one whom he had faith in and started looking at the situation around him. When he started looking at the situation around him, his condition became back governed by the law of this land, and he began to sink. And see, so the one who had the faith that gave him the opportunity to walk on water had to reach down and get him. Many of us do that very same thing. Many of us, we believe God until God starts to do that thing for us. Then we go back to where we used to be. That's what I'm asking you today. 21 days, 20 to break fast. Break fast. I thought that was going to be like a feast on the table back there. I guess y'all get water for the break fast. I guess that's what it is. It is what it is. I'm sorry. I thought they were going to have something special for you today. Everybody take a glass of water and go on. But the question is, like Peter, do I focus on Jesus for a minute, give him a short period of time, and then go back to looking at everything else and start to sink like I was? Or do I keep my eyes on the prize and move forward? That's the question. So what I want you to go with me, excuse me, to John 11. We're going to look at that. Because what I want you to understand is we have a level of intelligence today that has caused us to think we're smarter than we are. We have a level of intelligence today that, there's apps. I bet you every one of you have an app on your phone that is a weather app, right? Because I need to know what the weather is when I'm going where I go. And let me tell you something. They do not predict the weather, okay? They're not predicting the weather. What they're doing is taking an historical view of what has happened in the situation in the atmosphere and comparing that to what we have today, and then they give you a percentage. There is a 60% chance of rain. Not, it's definitely going to rain today, but according to the history, the way it used to be, this looks much like it, and based upon that, 60% chance it's going to rain. Take a chance. Take a chance, right? So they're not predicting the weather. They're just giving you historical information on what God has allowed us to learn. And now based upon that, now here's what it looks like. Even in tornado watch, the conditions are such that the National Weather Association, right, will tell you that based upon the history that we've had, that the conditions are such that there might be a thunderstorm which will enable a tornado, right? That's tornado. Even in a tornado warning, you ever had the sirens to go off and they go get in the tub and hide in the room and be scared of everything and get like 50 gallons of water and the batteries and all of that? It's a warning. And again, the conditions are such that it might just happen. But still, it's only based upon what we've had. I'm not predicting it. And God bless anybody that's been in a tornado, have known anybody in a tornado. I've been very close to it. My heart goes out to you, but still, we're not predicting. We're just based upon the information that we have. What I want to share with you today, what I want to talk about today, is that sometimes we get in our own way because we think we know so much. And what I'm behooving you when I get to the end is that I want you to stay with God so that when he tells you to do what he tells you to do, regardless as to how it looks, you get the outcome that maybe you desire better than what you desire, but even more so that's in his will. Okay? All right, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Tell you the story. The whole 11th chapter of John is based upon the life, the death, and the re-life, if you will, of Lazarus. All right? Lazarus, first verse, a certain man was sick. That man was Lazarus. Lazarus was the brother of Mary and Martha. Mary was the woman who anointed Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. Jesus had a special relationship with him. There's nothing like having a special relationship with the Savior, right? And when you know you're not, it's one thing to know him, you know somebody, but it's something when you have a special relationship with somebody. You know, they pay special attention to you. This situation, Mary and Martha and Lazarus had a special relationship. And in verse 3, it says this, therefore, say he was sick, and therefore the sisters sent him a message to say, hey, Lord, behold, him who you love is sick. Now, Jesus loved everybody. Jesus loved, but they knew. Come on, it's sort of like that aunt that you have that you're special with. You're special. The twins know that they special to Elder Carolyn, right? Because she let them come hang out with them and all this kind of stuff, do all this. They know they're special. And here it says, and then go to the next verse. It says, Jesus heard it, and he says, this sickness is not unto death, but to the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through Jesus. Now, the author goes on to reiterate one more time, just so if you didn't get the point, you get the point now. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So it's been reiterated, right? The message that they sent said, the one that you love is sick. Then the author of the book says, Jesus loved them. So everybody knew this wasn't undercover love. This was evidently, I don't know, he hung out there, but they knew he loved. So when he heard that, he stayed 2 more days. Now hold up. You special to me. And I hear that you are terribly sick. Back in, I think it was April of last year, we were in Colorado, and we were coming back down out of the mountains, and I got a phone call. Say my partner, Elder Haley, had been rushed to the hospital, dehydrated, didn't know what was going on with him, Immediately, she knew. Going to the hotel, pack it up, we out. I'll be back in Dallas in 12 hours. Thank God we got a call. By the time we got to the hotel, look here, you know what? They've got him stabilized. He's okay. Don't y'all rush home, right? But this does not exemplify the specialty, that relationship that Jesus had with them, because he said, he's sick. No biggie. We'll just hang out a couple more days, right? What you doing? What you got going on tonight? I'll come over to your house, because so he hung out 2 more days, and then after this, he said to the disciples, okay, let's go. So Jesus knew what was going on, because after he hung out 2 more days, he said, okay, now we'll go back to Judea. Now I'm telling you the story so you can get to the point. So now his disciples say, hold up, you're going to go back to Judea. Remember, they wanted to stone you there. They wanted to stone you. And Jesus had to go through and explain to them, listen, I understand that they wanted to stone me, but we're going to go back, and we're going to talk, we're going to go see about him. And Timothy, and theologians say that Timothy looked a lot like Jesus, to the point to where a lot of people called him twin to Jesus. He favored him so much. Timothy tells him, say, look here, I guess let's go back and die with him. That's pretty cool. If I know that I look like this dude and they want to kill this dude, but I'm going to go back with him, I'm dedicated to you. So Timothy said, and they talked to him, and he had to explain to him, listen, go ahead to the next verse. So these things he said, after that he said to them, our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him up. And the disciples are like, hey, look here, if he sleep, he all right. You don't need you to go all the way back. They don't need you to go all the way back. He just sleep. He just sleep. And finally, Jesus had to tell him, okay, y'all not getting it. Lazarus is dead. Period. Because y'all not, I'm trying to give you a bit of a metaphor, but Lazarus is dead. All right? So he goes on and he tells him that, and here's the part that got me. He say he's dead for your sake. Now that sounds a little bit diabolical. Lazarus, I'm glad. I'm glad he's dead. And he's dead for your sakes. That it's good that I was not there. To the intent that you believe, nevertheless, let us go. So disciples, they don't get it. They don't understand, but let us go. And as Timothy say, let's go. And so in the 17th verse said, then when Jesus came, he found that they had laid him in a grave 4 days already. Now, he hadn't gotten to the grave, but word was getting back and forth. There was a lot going on about this Jesus dude and the people that he loved and what's really happening. Now, many of the Jews came with Mary and Martha to comfort them concerning the brother. Verse 20, Here's where it gets interesting. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went to meet him. Now, Mary and Martha. Mary and Martha, right? Because Mary was the more humble one. Martha was the one that was always talking, always had something to say, always trying to run something. So Martha said, where are my purse? Where are my keys? I'm going to go tell Jesus because he should have been here. You know, let me go. I'm not even going to let him get here. I'm going to go and meet him. Give my keys. I'm going to meet him on the way. I know which way he go. I'm going to meet him on the road. Verse 21 says, then Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if thou had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Jesus, you're too late. Jesus, I'm disappointed in you. Jesus, you didn't do, you said we were special to you. You didn't do like we thought you were going to do. And truth be told, how many of us have had that same attitude? Lord, I've been tithing. I've been going to church. I even told a couple of folk to read Genesis 1:1. I gave them more power. I got the fish on the back of my car. I wear a cross around my neck. I'm doing all other churchy things, but you still let this happen to me. And I'm highly disappointed in you. And for a lot of us, it might even seem even worse when we went to God. We worked on it ourselves. We worked on that situation. We tried to handle it ourselves. We did it to the best of our ability. Then we decided to go to God. And when we got God involved, it got even worse. Think about it. Lazarus was just sick when they sent word. By the time Jesus got word, now he's died. So I go to the one that I've seen do all of these miracles. I go to the one that I've seen you did it for them, and they didn't even love you. You did it for her, and she didn't care about you. You did something for them, but for me, and the one that you say you love, you let him die. I'm very disappointed in you, Jesus. Very disappointed in you. Shame on you. The negligence, the denial, refusal. You could have just shown up here. You got the power. Why didn't you do it? Verse 22 says, but I know that even now, whatever thou wilt ask of God, God will do. So I don't know if Martha decided maybe I need to back off a little bit. Maybe I came at him a little hard. I might need to pump my brakes, and hedge my bet. Maybe there's a little something, because I was coming hard in the paint at Jesus, but you know what, maybe whatever thou wilt ask of God, God will do. Jesus say, thy brother shall rise again, right? And what does Martha do? Martha gets all religious. Then she goes and get church speak. Well, I know that in the end time, he will rise again in the resurrection, right? Right? I know that when you return, he will rise again. I'll rise. I know it. I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection. Jesus say, hold up, don't get churchy on me. I am the resurrection. See, here's what we have to understand in this story. Jesus is not coming to resurrect Lazarus. He's coming to resuscitate Lazarus. And he's making it clear by stating, I am the resurrection. There's nobody else. Check your Bible. Nobody else in the Bible was resurrected. See, resurrection he did of himself. Everybody else he resuscitated. And the reason I have to explain that to you is because Lazarus is going to die again. At the end of the story, when it's all said and done, he's going to get him up for now, and you're going to get some joy out of the moment. But eventually, Lazarus dies again. When Jesus is resurrected, I've died the last time, baby. And even while I was dead, I was working. he explains to her that I am the resurrection and the life, and he that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I want you to get this. I want you to get this. As a Christian, we don't have to be afraid of death. As a Christian, we don't have to be afraid of death. Please get this. And for some of you, it's going to take a moment for this to sink in. As a Christian, you do not have to fear death. For most of us, the concern is dying. You see what I'm saying? How am I going to die? Right? What vehicle is he going to use to take me out of here? Because see, here's the good thing about that. Death, at the point of death, boom, I'm in his presence. That's a wonderful thing. So I don't have to worry about death, but it's that dying thing. I don't know how you're going to take me out. I don't know. Let's keep it real, right? And a lot of us, we've had loved ones that suffered through, but eventually, especially if they love the Lord, when it was done, they in his presence. But it's that path from, okay, things are not looking so good. Baby, I'm on my way out. We just don't know. So it's the dying part that should, if you're concerned, be concerned about that, because you don't know. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. But should death come tonight, I know where I am tomorrow. That's the wonderful thing about it. I know where I am tomorrow. I don't worry about that. So, when I was laying in bed this week, thoughts come to mind. Hopefully First Lady got everything together. I'm just like, come on now, I'm keeping it real. We think about those things, Okay. I'm looking at the news. They talking about this Chinese flu or whatever it is coming out. I'm just saying. I'm running over the faces on the plane. Was anybody Chinese? Okay. Okay, so verse 26. Whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Faith check. Believeth thou this? Martha, do you believe it? Here's the deal, because see, again, on this fast, your faith has to come into activation. God is always looking to see if you're going to exemplify faith in him so that he can act on your behalf. And he's checking her faith right here. He said, because see, in order for you to get beyond the natural and to get to that supernatural, that miraculous thing to happen, there has to be some faith involved. There's laws that are in place that are going to happen, but you know what? If you want to see beyond the regular, there's going to have to be a faith wall. That's why he said that you can, if you have the faith the size of you can say to this, be thou removed and cast into and it'll be done. So it don't take a whole lot of faith. And Martha was trying to have some level of faith. Evidently, she had some, because Jesus, he asked her that, and then she said, yeah, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ and the Son of God, which would come into the world. Now, did she answer the question? God knows. We try to, give around and give the political answer. God knows, right? So she goes and she runs and she gets Mary. Mary shows up. Verse 32. Mary shows up, and Mary, same soup, different day. Lord, if thou had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. Now, she was a little bit more humble, because it says she came and she fell at his feet. So she didn't go off. She wasn't working her neck, hand on her hip, No, she was, but however, still, it's your fault, Jesus. I'm humble, but it's your fault. If you had been here, I know you could have been here. You said you love him. He wouldn't have died. 33, when Jesus therefore saw her weeping, the Jews were also weeping. Says he groaned in his spirit. I want you to understand where it talks about him groaning. This is not a sorrowful groan. This is a ticked off groan. This is the Greek. If you look at it in the Strongs, it say he snorted with anger. He was pissed off at death. Why? Because death was not in the original plan for man. So Jesus, tired of this death bully handling the people that he loves, and he was ticked off at that point. He was mad when he saw how hurt they were. You see your child, you see your brother, you see your sister, you see your loved one hurting, and somebody hurt them that really doesn't have a right to even be there, weren't invited to the party, weren't invited to the dinner. Now you mess it up. Yeah, I'm ticked off at you. That was Jesus' attitude. He was ticked off because he said, what does Jeremiah 29:11 say? I know the plans that I have for you. My plan was not what you're having to deal with. This was not the original plan. But you're having to deal with it. And I'm having to deal with you dealing with it. Jesus was not happy. Jesus was not happy. And it says he groaned in his spirit and was troubled. Said, and he asked him, where have you laid him? Verse 35, the shortest verse in the Bible says, Jesus wept. Jesus wept. Jesus wept. He was human enough to feel what we feel. He wasn't so much God that he couldn't hurt like we hurt. He wasn't so much God that he could ignore. There's been situations we had to do a wedding and a funeral within 24 hours of the same person. We had to marry them because she did not want to die without being married. And then go and do the death ritual and then do the funeral. Imagine the emotions that are tied to that. But see, what we have to understand is sometimes there are situations that you're going to be involved in that you cannot allow your emotions to be in control. There are situations that you're going to be called to that if you allow your emotions to be in control, you will not be able to do what God has called you to do. And I was asked several times, Cedric, how did you stand up there and do that? I only had to do my Father's will. No, it was not easy. No, it was not. And there's going to be things that you're going to be called to do that will not be easy. Your emotions will say one thing, your feelings will say one thing, but the will of God supersedes everything that you feel. And it was this situation. Jesus wept, but he did not allow his feelings to supersede what his Father and he had talked about. Yeah, Jesus wept. Hebrews 4:15 says, for we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with our feelings and our infirmities. But know this, Jesus did not allow his emotions to govern his theology. Jesus was crying with his hurting sisters. He moved with sympathy for the crowd, but he was unwavered due to his devotion to his Father. Watch your feelings. And the Jews looked at him and said, oh, he really loved them. Verse 38, he's still groaning. Verse 39, he said, now, take away the stone. Take away the stone. Here's the pivotal point of what you've been dealing with and what I'm asking you to deal with today. Jesus says, take away the stone. Martha, the sister to him that was dead, has to speak up. Here's the thing. When Jesus says, take away the stone, everybody that heard it was baffled. Wait a minute. He's been dead for 4 days now. That goes against the Jewish superstition that says that if he's been dead for 3 days, the soul hangs around the grave. And the soul hangs around the grave, but on the 4th day, he's gone. So Jesus purposely waited for 4 days. So make sure that your superstition has no feet to stand on. Because if I had come back on the 3rd day, you could have said, well, the soul was right there and he just resurrected it. No, no, no. No. I'm going to wait 4 days. So all that stuff that you believe, step on a crack, break your mama's back, don't walk under the ladder, black cat walking in front of you, all of that crap, I'm going to let all of that pass by so that your superstitions have nothing to stand on. So now, he gives a command that baffles us, and Jesus has given each and every one of us in our lifetime one of those commands. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because we want to use our human logic. And that's what Martha does. Martha comes out and she tells Jesus, Jesus, here's the deal. You don't understand. He's been in there for 4 days. Surely there might be a slight odor protruding from the cave if we roll the stone away. Surely he stinks by now. She's using human logic. And understand this, her human logic was 100% correct. Your logic, when you're in a situation, might be 100% correct, irrevocably unchallengeable in the natural. When we're dealing in the natural, what the way we see things, but many of us have humanly logicked our way out of God's blessings. There's some things, there's some stones in our life. There's something that some of us want to overcome, but there's a stone, and Jesus is saying, roll the stone away. And we're saying, Lord, you roll that stone away. People are going to see the stinky stuff that's hid back there. And he's saying, roll the stone away. Martha couldn't roll the stone away by herself. So what he's saying is, what he's trying to get us to understand is that some of us have to get some help. We've got stones that we've put in front of the cage of that thing that we know we need to get out. Maybe there's some things that we want to accomplish. There's some things that we want to do, but we put a stone in front of it and we need some help. See, let me explain something to you. Y'all not getting this. Y'all not getting it. Jesus said, Cedric, I need you to roll the stone away so that you can develop a church. Lord, I'm going to have to deal with some stinky stuff. Some stinky attitudes of my own, stinky attitudes of other folk, some stinky challenges. I'm going to have to deal with that. But see, the stone is not there just for you to roll it away by yourself. So sometimes you're going to have to bring somebody else alongside of you to help you to roll that stone out of the way to deal with that situation. So when Jesus said, okay, Cedric, I need you to roll the stone away and develop a church, it's like, okay, all right, Heart Fellowship. Jesus said, let's roll the stone away. I can't do this by myself. And so many of us have to understand that there are things in our life that we cannot do by ourselves. We want to do it on our own. I'd love to be able to finance everything, write a check, go get some land, put a building up, and y'all come. Ain't gonna happen. Can't do this by myself. There's so many things in your life you can't do. And Jesus, here's the thing. I'm getting ahead of myself. He wants you to understand that you are involved with the miracles that he's going to work in your life. Amen. He wants you to have a hand in, because see, he could have just spoken the word and Lazarus would have not, the stone's still there. He could have just presented himself right there. No. I need the faith is the part where you get involved. So against all odds, against the fact that the stone is heavy. It's been put there probably pretty securely. The stone has been put there. Now the body stinks back there. There's something back there that I really don't want to face. I don't want to look at again. Get you some folk. Get you some faith. And move the stone if you want to see the glory of God. If you want to see his glory, you're going to have to move some things. You're going to have to get involved. You're going to have to get your hands dirty. My Bible says in the book of James that faith without is, that's what it says that. So say, Although what you say may be correct, what you feel may be correct, you may be spot on with your statements. However, you have an incorrect heart about the situation. We have to have a faithful heart about the situation. So, verse 40, Jesus said to her, where is it? Did I not say? Right there. If we stop right there. If Jesus has to sort of check you, you know how Martha was checking him? Now this is the recheck. Now let me check you. Didn't I say that if, that is such a powerful word in the Bible. If thou believes, thou shalt see the glory of God. Nothing blocks God moving your life miraculously and supernaturally than your own logic. You can logic your way out of a blessing. Your education, your experience, the news, your friends, what mama said, Facebook, because this person has 1 million followers and people do what they say and they said XYZ, so there's really no God. I can't believe in that Jesus walking on water, cat, but I do believe in a higher being. So I'll follow him because 1 million people follow. Well, who created the 1 million people that's following this nut? But you're going to follow him instead of the creator. Jesus said, he said, look here. You're too smart for God. You're too intelligent for his blessing. You're too learned to receive his teaching, and so you suffer. You may have some worldly things, but your heart is broken. How many examples do we see people who are rich and have a whole lot of stuff, yet they're miserable as all get out? They turn to drugs, they turn to whatever because they're miserable. They don't have that peace inside. And he's saying, I'm trying to give you that. What I'm trying to get you, roll the stone away of your self-ability and turn to me. There's something that I want you to face. Didn't I tell you that if thou would believe, thou would see? Here's the problem. In the spiritual, you have to believe first and then see. See, in the natural, how are we? We are, seeing is believing. Got too many people from Missouri. Show me state. Got to show me first. You show me, then I'll believe. God said, no, that's not the way. You believe first, then I'll show you. Hebrews 11:1 says what? Now faith is of things, the evidence of things. You can't see it first. You got to believe it first. Didn't I tell you, if you would believe, you'd see the glory of God? What is seeing the glory of God? What is the glory of God? Whatever he does to show up in your life, that's his glory. Whatever he does that's over and beyond, as a matter of fact, not even over and beyond the natural. Just the fact that you get up every day is the glory of God. Just the fact that the sun continues to rise is the glory of God. Just the fact that you're sitting here breathing, looking at me and hearing me is the glory of God. But sometimes he will supersede that thing for you. But there has to be faith to come along with it. Has to be. And what he's telling her here, I want you to interject your faith in this situation. The first part is to roll away the stone. Roll away the stone. Interject your faith. Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. In the natural, you see it. In the spiritual, you have to believe it first. Matthew 13 says, he did not do many miracles there because of their unbelief. Unbelief. If you cannot find a way, even if you have to say, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Lord, there's a part of me, and everything in me, I can't see it, I don't understand it, but everything in me, there's a piece of unbelief. He will accept that because you're being true with him. He wants your truth and your honesty, not the make-believe, not the religiosity. If you stay in the natural, you're refusing to move the stone. Martha's trying to explain to Jesus, and Jesus is trying to give her what's beyond the stone. God created Lazarus. God created them. And she's trying to give God a biology lesson. She's trying to tell God, well, God, don't you know, as after so long, the body starts to deteriorate, then it stinks. And she's trying to give him a biology lesson. And he's like, I created biology. You dunce. Then they took away the stone, verse 41, from the place where the dead lay. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead laid. Martha didn't do it by herself. She had some help. Ecclesiastes tell us two are better than one. They get a better return from their work. It says, woe unto him who falls by himself, right? Because if there's two, there's somebody there to pull him out. Woe unto him that's attacked by himself. But if there's two of you, you can overcome him, right? What's the Bible say in Matthew? Where two are gathered together in my name. There's power when there's more of you. See, trying to do stuff alone, I tell you all the time, a man left alone by himself with his own thoughts is a dangerous man. Because you can talk yourself out of or into anything by yourself. Hopefully you got somebody with you that's accountable that can say, hey, Sid, man, Dad, come on, bro. You know, Sid, that ain't right. You know, hey, man, you got a beautiful wife at home. What, Sid? Come on, bro. Yeah, Beyonce cute. But, bro, she ain't for you. She ain't for you. Beyonce can't give you what Carrot Top can give you. Woo! Hopefully you got somebody with you. You need somebody there with you. You need somebody on your side that's not going to say, hey, go, man, if it was me, dog. If it was me, dog. That's why we talk about accountability partners. That's why we talk about, you know what I'm saying? Because you need somebody that's going to hold you when temptation comes in like a flood. When temptation comes, my Bible says that he'll give you a way out, a way of escape. But we have to be willing to take that way of escape when temptation comes in. You have to want to come. Some of us, come on now, temptation come in. Ooh, I've been waiting on you, temptation. We have to want to not do that thing. Roll that stone away. Have somebody there with you that's going to go with you. Say, they moved the stone away. Say, they moved the stone away. Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that thou hast heard me. I love that. He started thanking God that he'd already heard him about what he was getting ready to do. See, if you go back up to verse 4, you don't have to, but in your Bibles, if you go back to verse 4, you remember Jesus told him, he's just sleeping. This is just to God's glory, so you can understand, so you can see some things. He'd already had a discussion with his Father about the outcome. See, God knows the end from the beginning. He's already got it planned out. While you trying to work it out, while you trying to figure it out. I used to have an old pastor say, if God said it, I believe it, and that's enough. Like, no, if God said it, that's enough. Whether you believe it or not, forget whether you believe, if God said it, that's enough. See, so Jesus and God had already had a conversation, so he's just thanking God, Lord, you heard me. Not that you're hearing me, not that you're about to hear what I'm about to pray. You've already heard me. We've talked about this thing. Now we're going to bring what's been in the spiritual, what's been waiting, we're going to bring it to pass. Because they're showing, they moved the stone. See, they moved the stone, so now we're going to bring that thing, we're going to bring it to pass. The decision was made 4 days ago. The conversation and prayer was the way that they brought it forth. In verse 42, say, I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it. So I said some things. I went ahead and spoke it out loud because they didn't know the conversation that we had. So I needed to say it out loud so they'd understand what's going on. So I'm talking to my Father in heaven, and I'm articulating it out loud. So now that y'all see what's happening, oh, he's already talked to the big man, the man upstairs. He's already talked to God the Father. And now we're going to bring it to pass. In verse 43, and when he had said this, had spoken, he cried out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. Now, he understand, again, remember earlier I was telling you about not saying something vaguely, that God does things specifically for you. He called Lazarus forth. He didn't just say, y'all come forth, or hey, come forth. He didn't just know specifically for you, because everybody else in there would have came out. And that wasn't for everybody else. That was for Lazarus. Because that's the specificity of how God handles and deals with you. He's not, you ever prayed for a raise? Prayed for a raise, and you get your raise, right? Now, you pray for a raise and everybody get a raise. Well, that's good, and I got a raise. But when you get your raise, when it's not raise time, when you get your promotion and it's not promotion time, when you get a job and nobody else is getting employed, you know God moved. God said, Lazarus, specifically for you. He's an on-time God. He wasn't too late. He wasn't too late. 4 days wasn't too late. 4 days was right on time for God to be glorified. Specifically commanding Lazarus to come forth. Verse 44, and when he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, his face was bound about with napkins. Jesus said unto him, now loose him and let him go. Now, as we land, I want you to understand this. You pray for a thing, God brings a thing forth. He still expects you to be involved in that thing. He could have brought Lazarus out and totally been out of his death clothes, but no. There's still work for you to do, even when you get your blessing. See, quite often, many of us, we want to get our blessing, then we just going on about our business. Okay, come on, Lazarus, let's go. No. Loose him and let him go. There's work for you to do. Here's your work that you need to do when you get your blessing. You need the loosing and letting him go is you going out and tell somebody, look, I needed this from the Lord. I called on the Lord and I got an answer. That's the loosing and letting him go. You need to tell somebody, I was looking for a job. I was asking for a job. God gave me a job. That's loosing him and letting him go. You need to let somebody know, I needed some money. My lights was off or about to be turned off. I was stealing cable from the dude next door. But God blessed me. Oh, y'all act like now. Y'all been blessed. I guess I'm the only one. 2 Corinthians 6:1 says, we then, as workers together with him who? God, beseech you also that you receive not the grace of God in vain. Don't receive his blessings and then just go on about your business. The things that have happened to you in this 21 days, don't just take it and then throw it away like it was nothing. Prayerfully, this has been a turning point, a jumping off spot, a point for you to move further in Christ. Don't go back. Don't just fall back to what you were doing. Move the stone. And then when your blessing comes forth, loose it and let it go. The words that you have, the blessings that you receive, somebody else needs to know about it. And here's the great thing. Here's the great thing. Verse 45 says, and then many of the Jews which came with Mary had seen these things which Jesus did, and they believed on him. The blessings that you get are not just for you. The things that God is doing in your life are not just for you. They're for you to tell somebody about the glory of God. Don't just sit on God's blessing. Don't be, like I told you last week, week before last, whenever it was, don't be a spiritual, blessing cul-de-sac. Stuff just can't just get in and it's just stuck. No way, no bless. No. Your prayer should be, Lord, send the harvest. And every time you bless me, you can trust me to bless somebody else. Lord, send the harvest. And every time you bless me, you can trust me. Can God trust you with his blessing? Can God trust that you will first move the stone away? Will you even get up and do that? Will you call some people? Okay, Lord, I can't do this on my own. Are you too prideful to make a call? Say, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's what I'm dealing with. There's a stone that God has said I need to move because there's a blessing. But I'm having a hard time. As a matter of fact, I don't even have the wherewithal in me to do it myself. I need some help. Even if it's just praying, pray with me. Pray with me. Pray for me. Because I'm trying to go further. There's a blessing. I'll get past the stink. I don't know if Lazarus stunk or not. Bible doesn't say. It doesn't matter. Because whether he did stink or not, he came out of the grave. Well, so he came out of here. Some of your blessings might show up stinky. Wash the stinky blessing off. And take it. Because if trust me, if God brings it for you, regardless as to what's on it, he's saying loose it and let it go. Amen. Get a Lord a hand clap of praise.